A joint venture between Plant and Food Research and PGG Wrightson Seeds is running a forage cereal breeding program, along with proprietary seed company Agricom. The multi-stranded program is aiming to develop high-quality cereals that will work for a range of New Zealand farming systems, for not only forage, but catch crops as well. At the heart of the partnership is a continuous feedback loop between scientists, commercial operators and farmers to optimise results for all.
What we're trying to do is produce forage cereals that are purpose-built for the New Zealand farming environment. The forage cereals are sown in autumn, so they start off in warm soils and then grow into colder conditions. So we want plants that can perform in that environment, that can stand up to conditions, so rain and wind. But in addition to being forage cereals, they have to be cereals themselves. We still need to grow a seed crop, so they have to be high yielding. They need disease resistance also, so they can stand up to biota stresses. And height is a big part of it. Oats can get very tall very easily, so we're trying to keep them shorter and shorter, but it's a balancing act between tall enough to be a forage, bulky forage type crop, but not too tall for seed production purposes. Well, to produce a new cultivar is probably a 10-year process. So we start off, we identify 2 parents that have complementary traits. So one could be a good forage line, maybe one's a good seed production line. And we cross those 2 together. So we're mixing up the genetics and we're trying to identify over the course of 10 years which material will be the best combination of the traits from those parents. Agricom have been our commercial partners for a long time. We regularly have them out in the field just walking through the plots so they get to see what's coming up next. And we get feedback from them because they're talking to their farmers all the time and understanding what their farmers' needs and looking to the future.
Forage cereals and catch crops have certainly become more and more popular on farm over the last few years, particularly around the environmental side of things. Following our winter fodder beet crops or winter kale crops, where we have had a large number of animals on for the winter time frame, they can be a really useful tool in terms of capturing a bit of that nitrogen that's sitting in the soil there, so stops it from being leached. They actually have been an important part of farming systems for a wee while, not just the last 5 years, but it's been in the last 5 years that people have adopted them for that specific purpose of capturing nitrogen so that it can't go anywhere. So following on from that, they can make a really, really useful, valuable silage for the spring in terms of a high quality green chop cereal silage. And then we also use other species like barleys and triticales for whole crop cereal silage. So that's actually letting the plant get through to that seed head stage, harvested at what we call the cheesy dough stage, so before that seed head hardens off. And that gives us a really, really high quality, high carbohydrate feed to be fed out at different times of the year. From our trialling perspective, we're really trying to understand exactly how these products work in every way, shape or form. So how can we make these products work best for farmers on farm, and also where are their shortfalls as well. It also gives us an understanding where there are gaps or where there's weaknesses, which we feed back to Plant and Food to, help out with the improvement of future cultivars. The farmer networks that we have are very critical in terms of bringing the new genetics that Plant and Food develop to market, and that's simply because their feedback gives us a really good insight as to what's working well, what's not, what's needed for the future, and what we really need to understand so that they can have a successful product at the other end. Some of the trends that we're seeing that farmers are after in terms of looking for forage cereals are emerging. Our catch crops are probably the most obvious one. We're looking for something to establish something following a winter feed crop. It is in late winter, so thinking about cold conditions, so something that establishes fast and is vigorous is really important. So that's something that we're really looking at. And then the other thing is flexibility as well. At the other end, how easy is it to harvest to get a high quality product? Some of these things have a very short harvest window, so to have a bit more flexibility in that space is really, really useful. And then there's the other piece around performance. So, can we get elevated yields? How clean is it from disease? Because all of that impacts not only the quantity but also the quality of the final product, which is ultimately a bit of silage in the pit.
It's a dairy operation with its own dairy support block, which I manage. We winter the cows on fodder beet and silage over winter, and We're always trying to improve how we do things to fit in with environmental plans, and we'd been trialling the catch cropping for a couple of years. From a farmer's perspective, seeing how well the cereals do without fertiliser is just proof that there's so much nutrient there to be gained, and you can't catch that with grass. You need a fast-growing cereal to mop up that end, so it's a huge benefit.
Hello.
Good to see you.
Long time no see.
Yeah.
The research that we've been doing for a number of years now has shown that catch crops can significantly reduce the amount of nitrate that leaches on paddocks that have been winter grazed. So there's real potential to reduce environmental impacts, but we've also been able to show that we can grow more feed for the farmer. So there's a real sort of win-win. The thing with the catch crops and the cultivars that we're using is that they were never actually purpose-built for sowing in winter. The cultivars were previously bred for sowing when the soils were warmer in autumn or later in the season for a grain crop. So here we've got an opportunity to see if we can breed a crop that is better suited for sowing in the winter time. The key traits that we are looking for here is really around winter activity, because we're expecting the crops to establish in the coldest times of the year. So we want crops or cereal crops that can germinate, establish quickly, and then grow well during those cooler months. Certainly it is about nitrogen uptake. I mean, that's a key attribute of the crops, because we want to pick up as much nitrogen from the soil as we can. But here we've got an opportunity to create some new cultivars that are specifically designed for sowing in winter. And so if we can see genes or some genetics that allow the crops to establish earlier, then that's a real win.